Oh, you have your nails on, okay. All right, well, welcome back, everybody, to speech. Hope you're doing all right. You have nice holiday weekends. Everybody okay? Nothing got broken? Nobody got put in jail? No love lost? Okay, all positive then. I got a little sick last week. I'm over it. Wasn't COVID, but I think I'm past it now. Still got a little bit in my head. You can probably hear my head's a little bit cloudy. So I'm taking these, well, I won't name the brand, but one of those antihistamine tablets. So if I seem a little spacey today or I go off on some strange tangent, you'll know why. Well, the reason I have my guitar on today, I was just tuning it up real fast before we got started. Being careful of my mic up here. I know they'll drive Sam crazy if I'm dragging it across the microphone there, so I'll be careful of that. Maybe I should just leave it on for now. The old guitar. Let's put some new strings on it last night. And so when you put new strings on a guitar, typically you need to play for a couple hours to get it going. I think I only played for about an hour last night, so I'll keep working on that later. The reason I brought it today is because today we are going to begin talking about your next speech, which we will start next week. And these are going to be your informational speeches. And you're going to tell us about something you know about, something you care about, something you want to share with us, and frame it in an organized way. So we're going to be talking about that throughout the day today. And one of the most important things that you're going to bring along with your informational speech is a visual aid. Of course, that's an auditory aid as well, but it's something that we can look at and know what you're talking about. So in a little while, I'll pick this back up and use it to demonstrate a little bit. One of our students is also a guitar player. I'll bring her up and let her show you how easy it is. All right, let me take this off for a second. Okay, you'll be all right. It's okay, don't stress out. Okay, let's see who's here. Mary Ann, I think I just saw you come in, yes. Jasmine? I'm here. Over here, and Ireland. I don't see Ireland. I'm going to have to send her an email. I know she wasn't well. Grace is over here. And Caden? Here. Right here, okay. Alyssa? Here. Over here. And Bailey? Here. Two Baileys. This is the IG at Hazelwood. That's you, okay. And Kendall? Here. That's you, yeah. And Jesse? Here. And Hunter? Here. Over here, okay. And David? Not here today. And Kelsey? There. Cooper? Over here. And Elena? Back there. And Corey is back here. And Kim is over there. And Chia is right there. And other Bailey is over here. Josiah is right here. And Waylon is sitting where the other Bailey is normally sitting. So he's not here today. Okay. But I know people might be watching at home. And that's okay. That's the way the class is set up. Although if you live on campus, it's a lot better to come over here and actually be in here. I think you pick up a little bit more being in class. Today, what we're going to begin talking about is your informational speech. So you're going to tell us about something that you really care about and you're concerned about. I have an outline here for you. Let me get that set up for you here. Why don't you roll these around to everybody if you would. Thank you. So what you're going to get is an outline that I have put together. And this is going to give you a chance to formalize your thoughts, kind of get them organized. I'm trying to hide my mic cable there. It's not doing really well, is it? Here, I'll put it this way. I know it's going to get in the way later, no matter what we try and do. I'm trying to put it as high as I can get it. That way it won't have a problem. Okay, we'll try it there for a while. Oh, now my thing. So you're not supposed to, when you're on television, you're not supposed to like adjust yourself. But I'm having to fix some things up here. Okay, so we can go a few different ways on this. You can talk about an object. So if you have something that you really want to bring to our attention and discuss with us. You might be a pickleball player. You might play the clarinet. You might be an archer. You might, no firearms though, please. You might be an athlete of some type where you have certain equipment that you want to discuss. You may be a fisher person and you fish a lot. You may knit, you may make quilts, you may paint. There are all kinds of things that you might make or do. And you can do a speech about an object or one of these things that you make or use that's important in what you do. So, here, I'm just going to put this thing back on so I'm not holding it the whole time. Did I miss the microphone there, Sam? Are we all right? Okay, trying to keep it out of the way. So a musical instrument's a perfect thing to talk about because you can talk about your past with a musical instrument, how you got started playing one, what it does for you, the mental health benefits of playing a musical instrument, the brain power that develops, the physical coordination that we're working on. If a person plays guitar, you've got this hand making chords on this side, you've got this hand strumming. Usually you're tapping your foot to keep tempo, and then if you're going to sing, you've got to remember the words and you've got to put them in pitch with the chord that you're making. So you've got 5 things that you're doing, never mind interacting with an audience, seeing how they're vibing on it, and trying to play at an appropriate level. So there's a lot of things you have to do when you're playing the guitar, and one of the things they tell us as we get older, it's always good to have something that stretches your mind out, keeps your mind active. The neuroplasticity that's in the front of your brain here is always growing as long as you feed it. Once you stop feeding it, that's when it starts to stop growing, recede, and you're going nowhere. Well, y'all are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, whatever. So your brains are still growing. Mine at age 64 is actually starting to dilapidate. That's why I'm doing everything I can to stop that. One of the things you can do is play music. Another thing you can do is read. Another thing you can do is try and learn a new language. So there's lots of things you can do to make your brain grow. But a musical instrument has physical health benefits, mental health benefits, and I would say spiritual health benefits. Because I truly believe music is a spiritual entity. Why do you say that? What is something that's spiritual? It's not physical. So once you make the strum, that's going out to you. It's beyond me. It's beyond my physical self. And if you can play something that reaches people and touches them in one way or another or makes a connection with them, you've created a spiritual connection via music. It's great for meditation. It really helps me a lot. Sometimes, maybe if I've had a long day or some things haven't gone my way, I'm able to go sit down and just play some nice chords. It makes me feel better. If I'm kind of in an upset mood or mad mood or a bluesy mood, I can play it more aggressively. It makes me feel better to hit those chords. The famous E chord. Typically I don't play that aggressively though. So when we talk about an object, we're going to inform our audience about it. Well, the guitar has been around for a really long time. People have been using stringed instruments for literally thousands of years. And this particular guitar is only a few years old now, and I basically waited my whole life to get it. I always wanted the Gibson, what's known as a J45. And this instrument came out in the 1940s, and it was originally $45. And so they marketed it as the J45. But it's been used by singer-songwriters and country musicians, folk musicians, rock musicians since the beginning. You'll see all the famous, like the most famous musicians, the Beatles or Elvis Presley or Bob Dylan or Woody Guthrie, they're all using the J45 at one point or another in their careers. I always wanted one, but I could never afford one. And so I, at one point, was in the Guitar Center, and milling around as we do when you go look at guitars. And I saw this one up on the wall, but it said damaged on it. And so, since you got the tight shot on me there, Sam, someone had dropped it, and there's a split right here in the back of it. Right? It goes right here to right here. And that's really just in the finish. This part is where the cable goes in so you can electrify it. So someone had taken it down and dropped it on this jack. And what that did was put a split right here. So I thought, well, I wonder how much they're going to take off of that. And first I thought I better call my guitar guy, who always worked on my guitars, and ask him, hey, what do you think? I found a J45 at a Guitar Center, but it's damaged on the bottom. He said, send me a picture. So I did. And he said, now push on it. Does it crack when you push on it? And I said, no. He goes, it's probably just the finish, not the actual wood body of the guitar. And so I said, okay, well, let me go see. Well, just so happened I had another guitar, my, at that time, newest guitar in my car, and it was not hot weather, so I wasn't worried about it getting too hot. These things think they're still trees. You know, they're wood, so they're still living in a lot of ways. And if they get too dry, they'll crack. If they get too damp, they'll bend another way. So you really have to take care of them. And so I took my other guitar out, and I went back in Guitar Center, and I said, well, this thing's damaged. What are you going to do for me? And they told me, and I said, well, I also have this other guitar. How about if I trade this one too? And they said, okay, well, we'll give you this much. I still didn't have that much. But luckily, I'm an older person, and I have pretty good credit. So at that moment, I opened my Guitar Center charge account, and I charged that thing up right there, and then paid it off over a couple of years. And so that's how I have the Gibson J45, which is my primary guitar. Now, last year, I know I'm telling a bunch of stories here, but last year I was playing in Nashville, and I got in a hurry, and a lot of things were happening, and the guitar got damaged. And you can't see it now, but there was a hole in it right here. And so I brought it back to Tulsa, and there's a guy named Seth Lee Jones from Tulsa who's an excellent guitarist, plays out around a lot. He's also a luthier. He builds guitars and he repairs guitars. So I took it over to him, and I said, hey Seth, what do you think? Can you fix this thing? And he said, yeah, it'll take me a couple months, but I can do it, because he's got a lot of stuff that comes in from all over the world to repair right there in Tulsa. So he did. So I got it back. But in the meantime, I did get another guitar, but I don't really play it as much. I just needed one while that one was being fixed, and I love that guitar too, but this is the one that I play the most. And I take it around a lot. And tomorrow I'm playing a few songs at the Faculty Art Show. They'll start at 5 o'clock. Just playing a few, and they asked me to do that, so I said I would. And then I'm playing a little festival tomorrow in Tahlequah called the Blue Note Festival. So a couple gigs going on, and a lot of other things happening over the next 6 weeks musically. And music's a really important part of my life. And what happened to me is during the pandemic, I really went inward. Like a lot of us did, we were home, everything's online. So I took an online guitar class, and I wasn't really satisfied with it. So I started taking lessons from my local guitar teacher. And I've been playing since the 90s, but not really seriously. So when I started taking guitar lessons, it opened things up for me. And then I started to go out and playing around, open mics and songwriter nights, and people asked me back. And now I have probably more gigs than I should have, but I was invited to play these places, so I'm going to go play them. And I'll maybe mention them as we go forward. So if I were doing an informational speech nowadays, I would talk about the guitar. Just start with it. It has 6 strings on it. The sound hole that's right here, that's where the sound comes from. These things are how you tune it. These are the tuning pegs. I have a little mini tuner inside. It's hard for you to see, but I guess I can go ahead and try to take it out without messing things up. It's just this big. A lot of people you'll see play guitar and they've got a big tuner sticking off the end of it. And I don't really like that look. So they make some that are really small, and you just put it right inside the sound hole. And then that way you can just push the button and you can tune by looking down here. And it's always with you. There are other kinds of tuners. You can use your phone as a tuner. So if you were going to get a guitar, the first thing you need to do is learn how to tune it. And what I would say now is you can go on YouTube and find 100 lessons just on how to tune your guitar. And you can use your phone, which everybody has, to tune it. And you don't need an expensive guitar which this is an expensive guitar by my standards, to get started. We all, or most of us, start with a $100 guitar that comes from Costco or the pawn shop, or somebody gives it to you, or your uncle had it in a closet and they just hand it to you. You're like, oh, try this. And the strings are this far off the neck, and but you got to start somewhere. And once you start and play and get going, you think, hey, I like this. Then what you do is try and get the nicest guitar that you can get. And the reason I say that is because the nicer guitar that you get, the more you'll want to play it. And I feel badly if I don't play this like every day, like I'm neglecting it somehow or another. And I'm also not progressing in my skills any. And I think you as students should always be looking to that next thing that's going to build your abilities and your confidence and develop your brain and help you in life. And so I found the guitar to really be that for me. And I always loved the guitar and sounds of it, but I never played it. I just appreciated it. And I've known some great guitar players when I didn't know how to play guitar. I just liked their music and enjoyed getting to know them and learning more about it. But the guitar always seemed very complicated because there's 6 strings and you got to move your fingers all over the place, and it just didn't seem too much. And then I started to get some basic lessons on it, and next thing you know, I was making progress. So when you do your speech, you want to make sure it's something that is important to you. So you notice on your outline an attention getter. Well, what kind of attention getter can you get? Not just, I'm going to talk about this today, but have you ever thought about writing your own songs? That immediately puts the audience on the defensive in a lot of ways, because now they have to think about something. Have you ever thought about making your own batch of peanut butter cookies? Well, no, but I love peanut butter cookies. Tell me how to make them. Have you ever thought about salsa dancing? No, but tell me about it. Why would I want to even do that? So some kind of hook. For me, if you have something like a musical instrument in your hand, you can play along, and that's essentially your attention getter. But you could use a surprising fact, a rhetorical question. Have you ever thought about writing a song? Have you ever thought about picking up a musical instrument? Or a short anecdote. This is my guitar. I got it used from the Guitar Center. Well, it wasn't used, it was damaged from the Guitar Center. And I told a little story about that, how I came about it. And that in the pandemic, I started playing more seriously. Obviously, you'd state the topic of your speech. Today, I'm going to tell you about the guitar. Now, I have a lot of ways to go with this because I play a lot, and there's the basics of just what it is, and then there's the basics of starting to play it, and then there's the basics of putting songs together, and then there's the basics of singing, and then there's the basics of, it just keeps going on and on and on. Establish your credibility. Why are you talking about this subject? Why is it important to you? So for me, I've already said all that. I've been playing for several years. I started really taking it seriously during the pandemic, and now I play every day, and I go out and play what we would call professionally. What's professional mean? You get paid. That's basically it. So I'll make a little extra money playing guitar and doing songs in various places. So if I were to create a thesis statement about the guitar, remember what a thesis statement is. Anybody have an offering on that? What does the thesis statement do of an essay? It's your main topic, right? So a thesis statement is topic plus opinion plus controlling ideas. You have the desk camera here for a second, if I may, Sam. I'll do this one just on some paper. Go old school for you here. Is it working? Do we have it turned on? There we go. Okay, so when we talk about, let's see where we are here. Right here, be good. A thesis statement. Everybody needs to know this. The way this works is topic plus opinion. There's topic plus opinion plus what I'm going to call controlling ideas. And we're going to put 3 of them. There's 1. There's 2. And here's 3. All right, so what you would do then is think about whatever your topic is. So for me, it'd be the guitar. You can just leave that up there for a little bit, Sam, just so people at home can see it, and students can think about it for a second. Whatever your topic is, that's first. Playing the guitar, making quilts, going to the Galapagos, a famous historical figure that is significant to you, a musical instrument, a craft, some art that you do, some activity that you participate in. That's your topic. But then, what's your opinion about it? What do you want us to think about it? So, playing the guitar is a great way to begin learning music, singing songs, and gaining personal satisfaction. So what I've done there is made a thesis statement out of the guitar, just playing the guitar. My opinion is that it's a very rewarding experience. Spiritually, physically, mentally, all these things come together. So that would be my thesis statement. Then I'm going to break them down. Now, those of you who are in Comp 1, this is the same thing. So if you think in terms of controlling idea, let's call them A, B, and C. When you write a composition essay, after you've gotten your initial attention getter, right here, then your first paragraph is going to be about topic A. Your second paragraph is going to be about topic B. Your third paragraph is going to be about topic C. Then, in your conclusion, you're going to do what? Restate the thesis. And that's it. If you can get this down, you're set for a long time on writing essays and doing speeches. Attention getter, thesis statement, A, B, and C, restate thesis, offer suggestion for action. So you can come back to me here, Sam. And that's what your outline does. So you're going to list the main points you're going to cover in the speech. And then what I want is that thesis statement in there, right before it says body. So I didn't really put thesis in your outline, but that's your main topic sentence, and that's how you're going to break that down. So other things that you can talk about are, I don't really want you to do a process analysis yet, because that's going to be the next thing. But you can also talk about events. So maybe you've been to a significant event. Maybe you go to one every year. That's an important event that you attend, you like to attend, and you think other people could benefit from it as well because of A, B, and C. The fair, football season, maybe you have a significant church that you attend. And as I've said before, religious topics are not forbidden. We just want to couch them in the appropriate terms. And I was thinking about Cooper, right? We were talking about this the other day, and I challenged one class about a year ago. I don't remember if it was this fall. We had a pretty testy conversation about Bibles, and we were talking about, where information comes from. Like when you use a biblical quote, where does that come from? And which version are you using? Where does the Bible even come from? So I thought it would be interesting for students to learn about the history of what we consider the Bible. How it started, what the first versions were, what language that was in, Greek. The next version, that was in Latin, that took some books out of the one that was in Greek. Then the Protestant version that ultimately converts into English but takes books out of the Catholic version. And then we get a new international standardized version which changed the language of the one that was in the King James Version. So which version are you using? And why? Well, it challenged one student so much that he wouldn't even do the talk, because it sent him off a deep end that he didn't know he was needed to go onto. And so I'm okay with religious type presentations as long as they are scholarly and academic. It's like, here's why I do this, but at least I understand the history of how it got to here. Here's where it is, and here's where I see it going. I just bring that up as an aside, really. But let's say you're a vegan. No meat, no dairy products, no animal products, period. You think that's the way to go? Okay, you could tell us about that. It verges on the persuasive essay, which this really doesn't have to be. But you could inform us about that. You know, you could inform us about the dangers of red meat, the dangers of too much screen time. I was telling you that in the freshman comp class I'm teaching this semester, we're reading Fahrenheit 451. Any of y'all read it? High school? Just a couple, 3 or 4 of you? Really significant book, came out in 1953. And at that time it was science fiction. And what Ray Bradbury is talking about is directly related to our time today. But what's he talking about? The advent of television. Television just came out in the early 1950s. And he's noticing how people are starting to huddle around TVs and not visit with one another. And so he makes all these projections about what's going to happen in the future. He talks about thimble radios, which are tiny radios that people put in their ears so they can listen to music and people talking. And of course, we have those now with the earbuds. He talks about the wall-to-wall circuit that we'll be communicating over, or they are communicating over in this. We have the internet today. So he had enough insight into what was happening at the time, along with the ideas of McCarthyism. If you study your American history, you know what that is, the communist scare of the 1950s, where communists were vilified and people who weren't communists were dragged into this whole situation, where people are vilified because of their particular political beliefs. Censorship. As you know now, there's been quite a movement to get books taken out of public libraries, but specifically school libraries. And so it talks about that, censorship, because the whole thing is about burning books. That's what Fahrenheit 451 is. It's the temperature at which paper begins to burn. And the firemen's jobs are to go out and find people with books and burn them. And other people can turn in people with books and send those people's names to the central office, and then the central office will send the firemen out to burn their books. 1953. I really encourage it. It's not a long book, but I think it's an important and significant one. I haven't read it since high school. I kind of forgot it, to be honest, since high school was way back in the 20th century. So, concepts. If you have your book, it gives you some examples of historical philosophical periods. I had a student last year, a soccer player, on the informational speech, do a speech on Stoicism. Anybody know what that is? That is a Greek philosophy, and ultimately turns to the Romans and goes to a guy named Marcus Aurelius. And Marcus Aurelius, ironically, I think about this because in Fahrenheit 451, they're burning the Marcus Aurelius books because he's considered a radical. His big thing, controlling one's emotions in the face of situations over which you have no control. You can't control anybody's actions, but you can control your reaction to their actions. Okay, what is this? Critical thinking. Because what does critical thinking do? It asks you to not be emotional about topics, but to just look at the facts and then make a decision. Not an emotionally based decision, but an intellectually based decision. So don't stress over what you can't control. That's worked its way into a couple different songs that I have. The importance of exercise. We all know it's important to exercise, but we don't really do enough of it. But that's one thing that everybody should do on a regular basis, is keep yourself healthy, especially as you're going through these college years. Keeping your mind active, keeping your body active is really important. We tend to get lost in our friends and our screens. So time management is also an easy one. You don't have to solve the world. You don't have to tell the whole history of the Bible. You can also talk about why time management is important. And here's how you can do it. Make a list every morning when you make up of 5 things you have to get accomplished today. Keep a calendar in front of you so you can see what's happening. All of you should be taking all of your syllabi and matching them up for when things are due. So you know when all of your big projects are due, when all your midterms are due, like a planner that's a 16-week planner. And you know when everything's happening, because time management is really important in college. Otherwise, if you don't, next thing you know, it's week 12, and you go, OMG, I'm not going to be sleeping all week, because I've got multiple final projects to do, books to read, tests to accomplish. I got to go to my club meeting, and I got to take my mom to the doctor on Thursday at 2. So things start to really build up. You're going to inform us about something that is important to you. And don't overestimate what we know. I can't anticipate that anybody knows much about guitar. That's why I ask. But the same for any terminology that you introduce. I had a nursing student last year bring in some of her nursing gear and just describe it to us. Here's what I wear when I go into a patient's room. The really basic stuff. Here's my stethoscope, and here's what I use it for. I keep these various things on me in case I need them. And so she was informing us as to what a nurse needs on a daily basis to treat patients. But don't underestimate what any of us know. So if I were to say, well, everybody knows that if you just put your hand like this, you get a G chord. Well, not everybody knows that. What is a G chord? What does it even mean? A chord is when you have 3 notes that go together to make a pleasant sound. That's one way to get at it. You don't need all 6 to make a chord. Sometimes you can just make a chord with just 3. That's a C chord, right? Because you've got the 3 notes that are necessary to make the C chord. So make sure you define terms. Try not to be too technical. And I think that that's important too, because you're talking to all of us who don't have the expertise that you do. And you don't want to be too abstract. Try and be more concrete, if you can, about the subject matter. You'll have a topic sentence, introduce your first point, support some relevant evidence, whether it's a quote, whether it's the object, whether it's your own personal experience. You'll do the same thing for a couple more points, and then you'll restate your thesis, just like I outlined there. Why this is important: learning the guitar has so many benefits, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And once you learn a little bit about it, you can have a nice day with your guitar. It can be super complicated, and also be super easy. Just depends what you're willing to put into it. Once you get to the end, you're going to summarize all that you've said. And I'm really wanting to make sure that when you do the ends of your speeches that you emphasize something significant. And then ask for questions. You have any questions? You look around, if nobody has a question? Thank you. I encourage you all to go get your own guitar. Yay, everybody claps, and then next, right? So that's essentially what you're going to have to do. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through this twice. We're going to do a practice run, And then a final one, and there's a very important reason for this. I encourage you all to practice your speeches at home. I encourage you to take your phone, set it up somewhere where it's just you and the phone in your room, and record your speech, play it back, and see what it looks like. Have you watched your speeches on RSU TV? Some of you have, to look at them? Yeah, that's instant feedback on what you look like, how you're moving, your expressions. You can line that up with the critique sheet that I have, and you can think, okay, next time I'm not going to do that. I'm not wearing that shirt next time, or whatever. But doing a little practice with your phone and making a video will get you ready. But what I like to do in here, especially on these speeches, is get you to do it once as a practice time. Get some feedback. Then we're going to go through them all again with the feedback and with the practice, and you should be better. And that's what I'm trying to reinforce is practice, preparation builds confidence. So you are always more confident once you've practiced and prepared. I've seen many students come in last second, bad hair day, obviously didn't prepare, it's their day, they're going to do it anyway. Okay, and it's obvious that they didn't prepare. Because other things were going on, other things became a priority, they wound up not having time. Next thing you know, it's like, oh my gosh, my speech, I have to do it in 45 minutes on television. I guess I better get in there. And they do, and you can tell it's not really prepared, and so we make some critical comments. They're on television, so it's a little bit embarrassing almost, and so they go and they work harder and they come back, and next thing you know, they got a good speech. So that's the way we're going to approach it, and we're going to start with the second half of the list this time. So if I'm really getting the second half of the list right, it would be David over here starting. Next, where are we? What is today? Wednesday? So it would be next Monday. We would start. But he's not here. So who's the next person on the list there? Kelsey. Yay, Kelsey, you know you're right after David, huh? So let's start with you next Monday. Okay? It'll be Kelsey, and then Cooper, and then Elena, and then Corey, and then Kim, and then Chia, and then Bailey with a Y, and Josiah. And Waylon's not here yet, but I'm going to send Waylon and David messages. But let's say that's going to be our lineup next Monday. Now remember, this is the practice run. Okay, so it's not the final grade or anything. And by the way, everybody made an A on your first one. So it's just, that's what you get on the first essay, or first speech. Okay, what questions do you have? Let's go under 5 minutes. What other questions?
Could you do like more than one, just like interesting topic? So like if we have two, like maybe guitar or motorcycle, can we kind of
combine them?
Both? Yeah, just sort of like talk about how each of them kind of like shaped you.
Yeah, I would say okay on that.
Okay.
I always appreciate people coming up with unique ways to do this, so let's try that. See how it goes. It's a lot to talk about in 4.5 minutes, though.
Will aid be a picture?
Yes, it can be a picture, an image. It can be. You could put it on the little desk cam here. So just Sam will get you put it on the screen. That way we can see it. Last year I had someone brought a dog last year because they were talking about how they train their dog. And they had this little clicker. And I'd never seen the clicker method before. Have anybody seen this? So they have a clicker is how they train the dog. So whenever they click, it gets the dog to stop whatever they're doing and just stop. And then they give them a treat right after the click. And so that's how they train them. And the dog was just like awesome. And then another student brought in a little stuffed cow. And she was showing how she shows cows at like different competitions. And so she had this cow that she was drawing around. She was pointing out like what the judges are looking for and everything. I'm okay with that, you know.
Because I was going to do showing sheep.
Yeah, showing sheep. Yeah, I think that'd be fine. I have a blue, the word blue ribbon sheep in one of my songs. I have a lot of like country imagery. I also have a champion goat in one of my songs. They've just popped up from different places. So yeah, that'd be good. What else? No other questions? Bailey, you want to play a song for us?
You know, I would, but
Oh, you got your nails on.
yeah, it kind of makes it hard to
does.
pressing on other strings.
Gotcha. Well, what she's saying, that's an interesting topic, is that, you know, you're like my fingernails, I have a trimmer in my bag, I'm always clipping them down. And what you're ultimately trying to get is the ends of your fingers with calluses on them. So it doesn't hurt when you push down the strings, because the strings are steel. And once you start working with them, you'll leave marks. And that's why a lot of people give up early on guitar, because it hurts to play. So that's why we always say get yourself a classical guitar, which has plastic strings on it and doesn't hurt at all. And the fretboard's a little bit wider, so there's a little more space on it. They're also very inexpensive. That's our first guitar, my son and myself. Our first guitar was a Spanish guitar that cost like $100, and that's what we learned on. He got better than I quickly. He's still better than I am, I think, in a lot of ways. So with her nails, you can't, because when you play the guitar, you're supposed to play with your fingertips, right? You're not supposed to lay it down on the fretboard like that. What other questions do you have? Personalize your ideas. Make this about you. And be creative. Just like Bailey was saying, hey, I think I'd like to do two things. How motorcycles and guitars have impacted my life. Okay. Let's do that. Be creative. That's what I like about the college environment. If you have an interesting idea, try it out. Let's see it. I've had people mix like goopy Play-Doh stuff. Like, here's how we make Play-Doh, or here's how we make goop. Some kind of slime, that's what it was. Here's how we make slime. And they brought the stuff and mixed it all up and passed it around. Okay? I've had people say, well, here's how you make the perfect s'more. And brought the s'more stuff in. A s'more is like graham crackers and marshmallow and chocolate. You know what I learned? You know what the perfect s'more is? Take a moon pie and drop it in the microwave for like 4 seconds. And it'll come out like the perfect s'more. I learned that in Nashville. What other questions do you have? Well, speaking to inform occurs every day. You're always telling people about things. Maybe your parents, your friends, here's what happened today. You're explaining to them some subject matter. So you'll also have to do this in your professional life. You'll have to explain things to people. So objects, concepts, philosophies, places. If you've traveled a lot, I had a student do one on traveling, the importance of traveling, and why traveling is so significant to us. Going to see other places and gaining other perspectives outside of the one that we've grown up with enriches us. It makes our brain bigger. It makes us, there's a famous word. What does it mean when someone is worldly? What's that phrase mean, when someone's worldly? Not of the world, like in the religious way of saying, well, you're of the world instead of thinking spiritually. Worldly means to have been traveled. You've been around. You've been to some places. You have some perspective. I'm fortunate in my life that I've survived a lot of international travel and made it back. So when I was in the military, going to Germany and seeing the prisoner of war camps there, the Dachau, how horrible that was. It gave me perspective on World War II, why World War II was fought. You know, I've been to Hiroshima in Japan, where the bomb was dropped in World War II, and the reverence for that today, and the museum there, and everything that surrounds it. It gave me perspective. You know, have you seen the Grand Canyon? It's perspective once you do that. You know, I've been to Egypt. I've seen the Great Pyramids, the Sphinx. 4,500 years ago those were built. It gives you perspective on the human condition and how long people have really been doing things. We live in if you're an immigrant to this country, it's a young country. If you're a native person of this country, you've always been here. Or your family's always been here, your people have always been here. But our construction here of what's become the United States is pretty young. But if you travel in Central America, South America, like I have, to Guatemala and see the pyramids there, go to what the Mayans and the Aztecs built in Mexico, way before any European ever even set foot on these shores. It gives you perspective. The Middle East, you know, all of that, going to Israel, going to Jerusalem, going to Bethlehem, going to Nazareth, seeing these places, where if you grow up in the Christian tradition, they're just Bible stories. But if you actually walk the same streets and paths, you learn new things, different perspective. Briefly, when we went to the Church of the Nativity, you go to the Church of the Nativity, which is a big church that's on the site where Jesus was born. But when you get up to the altar, you go downstairs and you're underneath the church. And why is that? Because in biblical times, 2,000 years ago, that's where the animals were kept, because they didn't have central heat. So the heat from the animals rose up and heated the building. And so it wasn't a barn like outside away from the inn. It was underneath the inn that was there. So that was a different perspective for me. I didn't know that. So when you travel, you learn a lot. It stretches your brain out. And you travel around the United States, and I'd say right here, you travel to southeast Oklahoma and be in a whole different world, you know, than we are here in northeastern Oklahoma. Same for the panhandle of Oklahoma. Where's our panhandle person? Not here? Okay. Way out there. I haven't looked that town up yet. So be thinking about what you can talk about, how something is done maybe, how it works, but I told you I want to avoid something how something's done for right now, because the next speech is your process analysis. You're going to explain to us how something works in detail. Only a minute left? Can't get a song in that fast. One thing I've been enjoying is just playing one finger chords. Just the bottom three strings. Then, just add a finger. Now all of a sudden you're doing more than you were, and you're just using two fingers and making some music. So maybe I'll get it back out and actually play a couple songs for you as time goes on. I'm going to play some at the Faculty Art Show real fast on Thursday. But otherwise, we will just plan on seeing you on Monday. And we'll go with the first round of practice speeches on our informational speech.
So should we bring our objects for the practice?
Bring your objects.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, see you.